You know, the one Maga talking point that really gets under my skin and makes me mad every time I see it is this idea that Joe Biden doesn't know where he is. He's not really running this country. He forgets what he's going to say. He stutters. He trips and falls down. He can't complete a sentence. They say this shit all the time. And he is under a microscope 24/7. If he pauses for 1 second to go, they will freeze frame that and play it on a loop over and over and over again to try to drill home this ridiculous narrative that really, at the end of the day, has no weight whatsoever, and I'm going to get to that in just a little bit as to why. But Don Jr. and so many people now are sharing this clip, and they're saying, how disgraceful. Because it looks like Joe Biden has just sort of bent over and he's just sort of paused, because that's where they stop the clip. They don't show you the rest of it. That's what I'm going to do. First, we're going to show you the clip that they're showing to say that Joe Biden has doubled over and doesn't know where he's at. And then we'll show you what really happened.
Distinguished guests, please welcome the Honorable Lloyd J.
So yeah, it kind of does look like he's froze there for just a second, but if they played the rest of the clip, you would realize that he was just about to sit down.
J. Austin III, Secretary of Defense of the United States of America.
So yeah, he was about to sit down, and they took that and they jumped on it to try to paint him like he doesn't know where he is. But folks, I'm going to be realistic with you. I come out here on this porch to make videos every day, and there's times that someone in my family may say something to me, and I'm going to demonstrate to you what may happen before I get in this chair. I may get like right here, start to sit down, someone says something to me. What? Huh? And then I may walk away for a second. I may walk back over this way and get something I need. I may come back over here. Huh? What? Okay. Boom. I sat down in the chair to make the video. Now, if someone was recording me, they could say, that guy didn't know where he was. He couldn't even find his chair. It's so ridiculous that these are the tactics they use to try to cut down a decent, honest, good man. It's such bullshit. Folks, I'm 44 years old. I know what my trolls are saying. You look 64, man. Well, all I would say to any of those trolls is you could not have hung with me in those dive bars back in the day. I would have put you to bed, I promise. But I have moments every day where I forget what I'm going to do, forget what I'm going to say, forget where I'm supposed to be. I do it all the time. I recently moved. And I can't count the time since then that I have started back home and turned up my old road. Got halfway to my old house and went, crap, I don't live here anymore. And now I live in a split level home, so I have to walk upstairs to go outside. I've walked all the way to my car and forgot my keys. Damn it, forgot my keys. Come back in, back down the stairs, down to my room. Oh, I see my cigars. I forgot those too. So I reach and grab the cigars all the way back to my car. Shit, still forgot my keys. I do stuff like that every day. I forget what I'm saying every day. There's so many times I sit down to make a video. I mean, you see the finished product, but there was a couple of false starts. I don't write anything down. I make notes when I need to, but I don't write anything down. These aren't scripted. I'm not reading a teleprompter. So there's times I forget what I'm going to say. There's times I get tongue-tied and mispronounce people's names and mispronounce certain words. I do it every day. And whenever I do a video where I pull the words up on the screen and read them, I'll go ahead and be honest with you. Right there is where I do the most takes, because I have a really hard time reading stuff out loud. I can read it to myself and it makes perfect sense. Reading it out loud is a challenge for me. I'll go ahead and own it. So this idea that they want to attack Joe Biden because he's 81 years old is just ridiculous to me. I said before, no, he's not as sharp as he was when he debated Paul Ryan. He's not as quick. I should say that. He's not as quick-witted as he was then. But I will argue that he's every bit still as sharp. And I will argue that he's every bit still as smart. He's still there, and he's still rolling up his sleeves, and he's still going to work for this country. I know we slam Donald Trump every day, and we're going to keep doing it as long as he's in the political arena. But I want to talk today about what Joe Biden has accomplished for this country while everyone else is trying to paint it that he can't even sit down, okay? So we're going to start, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and admit it to you, folks. I made some notes on this one so I wouldn't forget some stuff, and I still may have forgotten some stuff, so if I did, just drop them in the comments. But for starters, he passed the American Rescue Plan, the bipartisan infrastructure law. He confirmed the first black Supreme Court justice in Ketanji Brown Jackson. The bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which is the first act that anyone has done in 30 years to try to curb gun violence in any way. The Chips and Science Act, which is bringing back jobs. $300 million is now being invested in American manufacturing. 15 million jobs have been created since 2021, 750 manufacturing jobs. He expanded health care to vets through the PACT Act, signed the Marriage Equality Law, the Inflation Reduction Act. See, I mispronounced that word. Everybody jump on Brando. Issued executive orders to preserve reproductive care and protect women's rights to travel across state lines to get help. Rejoined the Paris Climate Accords, which has been one of the most progressive progressive works ever on climate change. He's out there supporting Ukraine, our allies, like we're supposed to be doing. He has protected the Affordable Care Act and made insurance more affordable to millions of Americans. He's lowered the cost of insulin. He's canceled student loan debt. He has pardoned marijuana offenses, and he is working to secure the border, even though Republicans are saying we can't do that because we got to let Donald Trump run on it in November. So yeah, I may have got tongue-tied a few times during that, and yeah, I may have forgot what I was going to say a couple of times, but those are the things that Joe Biden has accomplished for this country, and meanwhile, he's going up against a convicted felon who's been found liable of sexual abuse, who's been found guilty of fraud, who tried to overthrow an election, who tried to install fake electors to win. I mean, I could sit here and go on and on and on. I do not care if Joe Biden stutters. I do not care if he pauses to think about what he's going to say next. If Joe Biden pauses to think about what he's going to say next, I'm going to give that guy all the time in the world he needs to come back and say to me what it was he was going to say. Why? Because I don't want to hear one single word that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth ever again. It's just so ridiculous that that's the way, that's all they got. You have to sometimes say to yourself, okay, especially when people say both sides are the same. We point out what Donald Trump says. We point out what Donald Trump says he intends to do. We point out what Donald Trump has done. We point out what Donald Trump has been found guilty and liable for in the court of law. We point out those things. And they point out a guy just pausing before he sits down. An 81-year-old guy just paused before he sat down, and it went viral in their world. I don't care, folks. Joe Biden is a decent man. And when I heard him comforting Hunter in rehab, I was already a fan, but that just put it over for me. Because I've been to rehab and I know what it's like to need that encouragement. I wasn't allowed to have phone calls. I've told the story before, but for those who've never heard it, I wasn't allowed to have phone calls when I was in rehab. I didn't get to hear my dad's voice. I would have gave anything for that moment. I would have gave anything to hear him tell me it was all going to be okay and that I could beat it. They took that and tried to use that against Joe Biden and paint him as a terrible human being. That's the kind of people that we're up against. You know, Joe Biden has always been there for his family. He's a good, decent man. No, he's not perfect. No, I don't agree with him on everything. And it wouldn't be natural if I did. That's the argument that I make to so many people. It would not be natural if I did. If you find a politician who you agree with him on everything, and he can do no wrong in your eyes, and you agree with every single word that comes out of his mouth, then I hate to break it to you, but you're a Trump supporter. Okay? That's how that works. But in the real world, we realize that politicians are human beings too. And they're flawed. They're not perfect. They were never supposed to be. No one was ever supposed to be. Come November, we got two options. We got a man who has rolled up his sleeves and went to work for the country, and we've got a man who has vowed to tear down the Constitution anytime he sees fit. So the both sides of the same argument is dead to me. And I think a lot of people needs to really start zeroing in and thinking about the things that President Biden has accomplished for this country, and stop listening to all these people who tries to go out of their way to find a way to demonize him. It's ridiculous that at the end of the day, that's all they've got, but that should tell you everything about their side. While our guy was getting things done, their guy is in and out of court for the crimes he's committed and promising to terminate the Constitution, and all they can do is find a video of an 81-year-old man pausing before he sits down. Both sides are not the same.